Hey guys, Laura here from NZPocketGuide.com, and a few years back, Robin and I did an epic adventure around New Zealand doing 365 days of 365 activities. And today was day 181 and we are doing a cheese factory tour as well as doing some sheep shearing at a local Kiwi farm. So check out the video and join me at the end where I'll be answering the questions you guys had the first time around when we published the video. So see you at the end.
It's a lovely morning in the quirky town of Oamaru and we are on a mission.
Today we are going to Whitestone Cheese to taste some delicious cheese.
Awesome. So this is some of the best cheese in New Zealand that they make right here in Oamaru. So we're both pretty pumped about it, but especially me because I fucking love cheese.
As soon as we arrive at Whitestone Cheese, we meet our guide for today, who is Pauline, who unsurprisingly is from France. Of course, she loves cheese. So we go into the factory tour where we get to look through different windows into the different stages of the cheese making process. What we're looking at right now is the agitating process of the cheese. So different size agitators creates different types of cheese. We also look into the vat section as well, but unfortunately no one's working in that stage today. And then we move on to what is Robin's favorite room, which is the fermentation room, which is filled with rows and rows of blue cheese getting older and smellier.
There is a heaps of information panel all around the room, so we could actually do the tour ourselves, but Pauline, which was working at the shop, just offered to guide us around to show us even more than what the signs are actually telling. But the tour finishes with a taster, because of course it finishes with a taster. It's a cheese tour, that's the best thing ever. So Pauline is giving us tasters of a lot of different cheese that they're making right here at Whitestone Cheesery. We're tasting some blue cheese, we're tasting some camembert, some creamy brie, some Havarti, and of course Laura and I are getting ourselves a cheese platter so we can treat ourselves, taste even more cheese, and round up this tour the best way possible. And after tasting almost every single cheese that Whitestone is making, Laura and I are ready to pick our favorites.
So out of all the cheese that we've been tasting right now, my favorite was Vintage Windsor Blue.
Creamy Havarti.
So now we stuffed ourselves with cheese, it's time for us to go shear a sheep. I'm trying to see if I can get some cheese out of it. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I can.
This afternoon, Laura and I have organized something really special. The owner of the Oamaru Backpackers has some family farming in the nearby hills, and they are farming sheep for their wool. It's a major industry right here in New Zealand with over 6 sheep per person in the country. It used to be 20 sheep per person, but the industry has been declining a little bit lately. So as soon as we arrive, we are witnessing a sheepdog rounding up sheep, I think that's the term, because those ones are really woolly and they need to be sheared. In the shearing shed, we are meeting Phil, the sheep shearer, as well as our woolly victims of the day. He's going to be teaching us all about wool first, and then we're going to be trying our hand at sheep shearing. That's going to be a doozy.
So this one is much denser.
So if you carded that out, like
I had no idea there was so many type of wool.
That's your worst wool.
yes, and that's your best.
That's your best wool. Look at that, it's so shiny. This is going to be an icebreaker jumper one day.
Before, after.
We are learning so much about sheep shearing thanks to Phil's expertise, and this is really an industry that we had no idea about. Sheep shearing used to be actually one of the most important agricultural industries in New Zealand for about 130 years before dairy took the title in 1987. The sheep are looking pretty nervous in their pens, but Phil assures us that sheep shearing doesn't actually harm the sheep in any way, and we're actually surprised how they react once Phil starts giving us a demonstration of how to shear a sheep. They just completely go limp and lifeless and just let Phil do his thing. And Phil is off like a rocket, completely making this sheep super bald. In fact, they have competitions in New Zealand on who can shear the sheep the fastest. Something tells us that we are not gonna make it look so easy. But anyway, once the sheep is sheared, Phil is putting the sheep into a little runway where it can go out into the field, back outside, and then he gives us a demonstration of what wool looks like once it has been sheared. And with that, now it is our turn.
It's no small feat to go after Phil. He made it look so easy, that was incredible. And he did everything so fast as well. I'm already out of breath just trying to drag that sheep out of its pen. And so then after I'm trying to hold on to it so it doesn't wiggle too much, Phil had me putting in the right relaxing position so the sheep doesn't mind too much that I'm trying to shear it. Phil is overseeing the entire process, but it's really hard. And as soon as I'm done, the sheep is actually escaping me and try to run away wherever it wants, which is obviously not ideal. We want it to go back to its field. After my shearing, Phil is evaluating my wool and actually he's not that happy because I have done so many little strokes. I have cut the wool in so many small pieces that it will not be useful for anything else than a rug.
Oh my god, that was a disaster, but I don't do much better because now I'm giving this sheep a box cut rather than making it look like a sheared sheep. It's now sporting a beautiful haircut like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, so I think it's time for Phil to take back the reins and show us what it's like to shear a black wool sheep. So, like a pro, he grabs hold of the horns of this ram and pulls it out of its pen, ready for some shearing. We're super surprised at how black that wool is, and Phil is even showing how he successfully shears the tail of the sheep as well. And after that, it goes back into its pen, and now we think it's time for us to have a beer, just like all farmers do at the end of a working day. We're clearly not cut out for sheep shearing, but surely we cannot fail at feeding the animals. So that's our next job on the farm this evening as we go to feed the pigs and feed the lambs. Oh my god.
Hand on your hands, let's do the full leg.
Come on, Max. You can do it.
Oh, there. You make an amazing
And you're
sheepdog.
welcome, guys. You're welcome. To top up this awesome day, we are having a beer with the guys and we are having an awesome treat. Phil and his wife invite us inside the house for some pavlova, which is the traditional New Zealand dessert. It's the one specialty that you cannot leave New Zealand without trying. It's a meringue cake with heaps of creams and heaps of fruit on top. It is an absolute delight and a perfect end to our lovely day.
He's having a good time.
I'm not sure I'm going to use that one.
I think you should. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed watching that experience of going to a cheese factory as well as checking out a real New Zealand farm. And we didn't get a whole bunch of questions for this one, but we did get one question that was quite interesting from James saying, where else can you try pavlova other than at someone's home? So yeah, I do understand that. Actually, pavlova is said to be one of those sort of desserts which is like a traditional New Zealand dessert, and it has a lot of sort of, you know, a lot of hype around it, but it's actually quite hard to find on the menu sometimes, especially a pavlova that is sort of, you know, more homemade, because sometimes you can go to cafes where they have pavlova, but it's usually sort of just a couple of cheap pieces of meringue sort of put together with a bit of whipped cream. That is not the like authentic experience. So we do have a note of some places that you can actually try a more traditional pavlova. For instance, there's Floriditas in Wellington, there's also Cibo in Auckland, and the Willowbank Wildlife Reserve in Christchurch. And I'm just referring to a page that we have on nzpocketguide.com, which is where to try traditional New Zealand food. So we do have a list of the traditional New Zealand food and actually lists of restaurants where you can actually try some of those dishes. So go check that out on NZ Pocket Guide if you want to find out more information about that. Alright guys, if you do want to find more information about any of your travelling around New Zealand, then NZ Pocket Guide is obviously a good place to go. But also you can join us during our live Q&A session every single Sunday at 8 AM New Zealand time, where we go through the live chat and answer all your New Zealand travel questions directly to you guys. So yeah, join us for that, and I'll see you in the next video.